craziest things that happened at school. Okay, I know your school had that one moment where everything went sideways. Sirens, rumors, teachers whispering, students glued to their phones like it was breaking news. The kind of story that still gets brought up at reunions. So be honest, what's the most chaotic, unbelievable thing that ever went down at your school? Story 1. Man, last day of senior year, right? Supposed to be vibes, pure chaos, but the fun kind. Signing yearbooks, people bringing snacks, teachers barely pretending to teach, everybody already mentally checked out. So a bunch of guys in my grade roll in with backpacks full of water balloons. Classic senior prank energy. Nothing dangerous, just that we're about to soak somebody and run type nonsense. I'm already laughing, thinking, yeah, this about to be messy but legendary. Then one genius, and there's always one, gets stopped by the vice principal. Dude asks what's in the bag. Simple question, easy answer, but nah. This man decides to go full supervillain and says, dead serious, I've got plastic explosives in here. I remember hearing that and just going, bro, what are you doing? Vice principal's face went from mildly annoyed to, oh, this is a problem in half a second. Radio comes out. Tone changes. Suddenly, adults are moving fast, not school fast. Next thing you know, boom, bomb threat protocol, hallways clearing, teachers hustling us outside. No jokes now, no laughter, just confusion and that low nervous buzz like, wait, is this real? And the wildest part? We didn't even get a dramatic finale. No water balloon fight, no senior prank glory, just buses pulling up early and everybody getting sent home like, congratulations, you played yourself. Story 2. So this teacher, normal dude on the surface, shows up to work, teaches class, cracks a couple dry jokes, probably complains about the copier like every other staff member. Nothing flashy, nothing suspicious, just another adult in the building. But behind the scenes, man was apparently running his own little side hustle. Stuff started going missing. First a laptop, then a projector, then random equipment. And at first, folks chalked it up to paperwork errors or budget confusion. You know how schools are. Things disappear into the void all the time. Then the police get involved. And that's when the story turns from missing supplies to full-blown what in the world is happening. They track everything back to a storage unit, pop the door open, and it's packed, wall to wall. Computers stacked like boxes at a warehouse. School equipment everywhere. I remember hearing about situations like that and just going, sir, were you building a second school in secret? Next day, no quiet meeting, no polite resignation. Nah, this was public. Police walk into the building, middle of the day, class still in session, and they escort him out in handcuffs. You know that stunned silence that hits when something unreal happens right in front of you? Kids peeking out of classroom doors, teachers frozen mid-sentence, the whole hallway buzzing with whispers like electricity. Because once you see a teacher let out like that, you realize real quick, this ain't detention level trouble anymore. Story 3. Oh, this one right here, this is straight up teenage crime movie logic. Equal parts genius and unbelievably dumb at the exact same time. So picture lunch period, right? Cafeteria loud, trays clanking, everybody arguing over who cut the line. Just another regular day. Then, somewhere in the mix, somebody pulls out a couple crumpled bills. Nothing flashy, just casual, like they've done it 100 times. And the wild part? They made the money themselves, on a school printer. I remember hearing about it and going, hold up, you used the school's ink to commit a federal crime? Like that's next level confidence or next level stupidity. Maybe both, but they didn't just print it clean and obvious. Nah, they crumpled the bills up, roughed them around a little, tried to give them that been in my wallet for weeks look. And somehow, it worked. They bought lunch, walked away, probably sat down eating pizza like a mastermind. Then later, somebody notices. Maybe the cashier squints. Maybe the office counts the register. Suddenly, the mood flips from normal cafeteria chaos to full investigation mode. Administrators whispering, staff checking cameras, rumors flying everywhere like, yo, this is counterfeiting. That's a real crime. You could feel that tension in the hallways. Not panic, more like nervous excitement. Everybody wondering who the mystery outlaw was. And the craziest part? They never caught the person. Story 4. So picture the pep rally. Gym-packed, band playing, everybody loud and hyped, mascots running around like caffeinated squirrels. Standard school spirit chaos. Then they bring out the team captains, blindfold them, line them up in front of the crowd. Whole place buzzing because they're told they're about to get kissed and have to guess who it is. Naturally, everybody assumes it's another student. Maybe a crush, maybe a joke. Harmless embarrassment, right? But then, surprise, it's their parents. And not just a quick peck either. We're talking full-on, awkward, lingering, why is this still happening type kisses. The gym goes from cheering to that uncomfortable laughter, the kind where people don't know whether to clap or look at the floor. And the wildest part? This wasn't a one-time mistake. Apparently, it was a tradition. Every 4 years, somebody in charge thought this was peak entertainment. Then one student finally records it, uploads it. Boom, news cycle. Suddenly, administrators scrambling, statements being written, everybody acting shocked like this hadn't been happening for years. And just like that, the tradition disappears overnight. Story 5. Oh, this is straight up high school hacker movie territory. Like somebody watched one too many cybersecurity documentaries and said, yeah, I could do that. So it starts quiet, nerdy quiet, the kind where a couple kids are always hanging around the computer lab, typing fast, whispering, laughing at stuff nobody else understands. Nothing suspicious at first, just tech kids being tech kids. But behind the scenes, they plan a keylogger. And that's the moment the whole thing shifts from prank to operation. They capture a teacher's login to the grading system. Boom, full backstage access, grades, records, everything. And instead of panicking, these kids get entrepreneurial, real quick. Suddenly, there's rumors floating around like, yo, you can fix your grade for $50. I remember hearing about situations like this and just thinking, long, slow whistle. These dudes built a black market for report cards. And the wild part? It worked. For a while, grades quietly changing, GPA miracles happening overnight. Kids going from barely passing to honor roll like they discovered academic steroids. Teachers scratching their heads thinking, wait, didn't this student fail 3 tests? Eventually, one teacher catches it, notices the numbers don't line up, raises the alarm. Then, boom, administration calls in police. Now it's not school discipline anymore. It's cybercrime, investigations, interviews, computers getting seized, the whole 9 yards. But here's the twist that makes everybody shake their head. Before the school could even expel them, the families pulled those kids out. Transferred. Gone. Like smoke. And rumor had it, they ended up at Ivy League schools later on. Places that looked at the whole stunt not as delinquency, but as proof of talent. Like, wow, that's impressive technical skill. Meanwhile, the rest of us sitting there thinking, hold on, y'all hacked the gradebook and got rewarded? Long pause. That's when you realize the world don't always punish clever. Sometimes it just recruits it. Story 6. So picture it. Favorite teacher in the whole school. The cool one, the fair one, the one who actually listened to kids instead of barking orders. That teacher. Everybody liked him. Even the troublemakers respected him, which is saying something. And he had this habit of letting baseball players stash their bags in his classroom during homeroom. Nothing shady, just convenience. Lockers were crowded, practice schedules were tight. He was trying to help out. Normal, decent human stuff. Then one day, bam, drug dogs show up. You know that sound when the hallway suddenly goes quiet but tense? Like everybody's holding their breath? Yeah, that. The dogs sweep the room and they hit on one of the bags. Weed inside, and instantly, the mood flips. Administration goes full zero tolerance mode. No nuance, no patience, just policies slamming down like a gavel. Even after it came out that the weed wasn't his, everybody knew whose bag it was, he still took the fall, lost his job anyway. I remember thinking, long pause in my head, man, you can do everything right and still get crushed by the rules. And that baseball player? Ooh. Most hated kid in the school from that day until graduation. Not loud hatred, not fights, just that cold, silent treatment. People side-eyeing him in the cafeteria, teammates keeping their distance, teachers speaking to him extra short. Because deep down, everybody knew one good teacher got sacrificed and the wrong person walked the stage at the end. Story 7. So picture this. A handful of students decide they're done whispering in the hallways. They're tired of the rumors about creepy staff, shady security guards, teachers acting foul, and instead of just venting at lunch, they go full underground press. They make a zine. Not some little doodle notebook either. I'm talking stapled pages, bold headlines, names dropped, accusations flying, poems raging about authority, sketches roasting administrators, real, "we're exposing the system" type vibes. You could almost smell the Sharpie ink and teenage defiance on every page. And for a hot minute, they felt unstoppable, passing copies hand to hand, watching people read it with wide eyes, like contraband. That electric buzz of, yo, they actually said it out loud. But here's the thing about calling people out publicly, especially in a school setting. Once administrators got wind of it, the tone flipped fast. No debate, no open forum, just investigation mode. Next thing you know, names identified, offices calling parents, doors closing behind them one by one. All 9 students expelled. I remember hearing about situations like that and thinking, dang, they tried to start a revolution and ended up starting their transfer paperwork instead. Story 8. So picture you back then, getting bullied, feeling frustrated, probably powerless, watching the Death Note movie and thinking, okay, this is a way to vent, just write it down, get it out of my head, not planning anything, not threatening anyone, just scribbling in a journal like a pressure valve. Private thoughts, your own weird little emotional sandbox. And then, boom, one tiny mistake. You grab the wrong notebook, toss it in your backpack, go to school like any other day. Nothing feels different until you step out for a quick water break. 2 minutes, maybe 5. You come back, and the room feels wrong. Kids staring, whispering. That heavy silence that hits when everybody just saw something they weren't supposed to see. And then it clicks. They went through your bag, found the notebook, flipped the pages, saw their names, saw the dramatic how they die stuff. Man, that stomach drop moment must have been brutal. But here's the part that matters. You never acted on it. It stayed in the realm of imagination and venting, and the adults recognized that. So instead of hammering you with punishment, they steered you into counseling, basically saying, hey, something's hurting here. Let's deal with that. And the irony? After all that drama, the bullying stopped. Not because the notebook was scary, but because suddenly everyone realized you weren't an easy target anymore. The dynamic shifted. Looking back now, it almost reads like a dark coming-of-age story. A kid trying to cope, making a mistake, getting help, and walking out stronger, even if the whole thing started with an anime and a very unfortunate mix-up. Story 9. So picture it. School year starts. Everybody excited for the usual stuff. Dances, field trips, new gear for clubs. You know, the little things that make school feel alive. Fundraising money rolling in from bake sales, car washes, parents writing checks thinking it's all going toward the kids. Then slowly, stuff starts getting canceled. No spring dance, no new equipment, fewer events. And everybody's like, dang, guess money's tight this year. But then, one random morning, staff start walking in wearing these super fancy jackets. Not the cheap booster club kind either. I'm talking thick material, custom embroidery, big school logos stitched across the back like a varsity championship coat. Names personalized, all polished and official looking. And folks are squinting like, since when did we get uniforms? That's when the truth leaks out. Vice principal dipped into the fundraising pot, the same money meant for student activities, and spent it on these custom jackets. $400 a pop. A dozen of them, quietly, no announcement, no vote, no heads up. And the wildest part, some teachers who received them were straight up mortified. Like, holding the jacket at arm's length, thinking, wait, this was supposed to be the dance budget. But nothing really happened to the vice principal. No firing, no suspension. Just awkward silence and a whole lot of frustration. Parents mad, students disappointed, staff side-eyeing each other in the hallway. Meanwhile, a few people still wore the jackets, walking around like nothing happened, while the rest of the school quietly noticed there were fewer memories being made that year. Story 10. So all year long, there's this mystery menace roaming the parking lot like a nocturnal raccoon with a grudge. Cars sitting there minding their business. And then boom, someone walks out after last bell and finds a present on the hood. Not bird droppings, Not mud. Nah, full human crime scene. And taped right there, a note. Stop bullying Joel. Man. At first, people are confused, then disgusted, then weirdly impressed by the commitment. Because this wasn't a one-time prank. This was a campaign. Parking lot, driveways, multiple victims, somebody was putting in work, and the whole school kind of knew, like that unspoken, everybody side-eyeing the same person knowledge, that Joel was probably behind it. I mean, the note literally named him. But here's the wild part. Nobody ever caught him in the act. No cameras, no witnesses, nothing. Dude moved like a ghost. Meanwhile, the bullying didn't magically stop. Kids still cracked jokes, still whispered, which made the whole situation feel sadder underneath the ridiculousness. Like this was a desperate, messy way of saying, please leave me alone. I remember thinking, man, that's the most unhinged protest sign I've ever seen. I swear, every time we open this topic, the stories get wilder and wilder. If you've got a story that still lives rent-free in your head, drop it below, hit subscribe, and buckle up because we're definitely doing a part 2.